Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Martin Willis, your host, and I'm wearing my special swamp gas shirt tonight. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. This is a special show because of it's kind of a fluid topic right now in these shoot downs. And what better guests could I possibly have on than a former fighter pilot, along with an astronomer, Chris Lehto and Marc D'Antonio. They're coming right up in just a second. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And so this is Balloon Gate. And I thought, what a perfect thing to say. This is a balloon gate. What the heck is going on? We're going to be talking all about that. And I love this graphic right here. Let's see. Yes. I think it's funny. I hope you're getting a good laugh out of it. I'll probably put it in the show notes as well. I want to thank everyone that supports the show. Anyone can do that over at podcastufo.com. And this is the blog that was done this week is a second in the series. I think there's going to be more, and this is called UFO Abductology Under Attack, the first shots fired. Talks all about the different people that have got involved in the UFO abduction topic. And again, it's the second one in the series. Check that out over at podcastufo.com. Without further ado, I'm bringing in the handsome and well-dressed Chris Lehto. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Martin. Thanks for being here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you bet. You're used to being the host. That's why you said that. So, and Marc D'Antonio. Marc, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks, Martin. Good to see you. Chris, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Marc.
You're doing that Brady Bunch type of thing. You got that down. He knows how to. The reason it's hard to do, is because
it's reversed.
Opposite. Everything shows opposite. Like
once you get that in your head,
this way, I'm actually pointing to the middle.
Once you forget, he's there, he's there, you're there, right. Kind of a thing. Yeah, so we get.
Yeah, that's works. Right. So I think we are, I just Chris wasn't aware, but last week I talked about it. I was lucky enough to be actually under the balloon, and for just out of my car for 5 minutes when that got shot down, and I witnessed the whole thing, which was really exciting. And but more is happening, and there's I think the a lot of the UFO world out there on Twitter, especially, you see there's all kinds of theories and things going all over the place. So I would like to have a nice balanced look at what we think is going on. I said all along, and I've got some criticisms of it, but I don't think it's alien, but I'm going to keep an open mind. I mean, the reason I want to say that is because about, 97% or 90 some odd percent of everything that starts out as a UFO is explained. And so I'm thinking it's possible that's going to be the same type of thing with these things that are shot down, but I have no idea. And we are here to talk about it. I don't know who wants to take it first.
Well, I mean, I just, because you brought up how 99% of these things are known, the thing to understand in the case of these objects, all right, is let's take it on the path of what they could be. Okay. They could be more spy balloons. Okay. And we know for a fact that there was at least one, and it was here, and it was shot down off Myrtle Beach. You captured it, which was a great capture, by the way. And thank you for sending it to me, because I really enjoyed seeing that. And there it is. Yeah. And the second thing they could be, if they're not like another spy balloon, is they could be an actual weather balloon. Now, a couple of things make me think that's possible. First of all, when you look at these normal weather balloons, when they're launched, the latex ones, the ones that typically are launched, are probably around 5 to 6 feet in diameter at the ground. But by the time they get into the air and they expand in the upper atmosphere, they could be the size of a car. All right. And so that is interesting, because that's exactly the size they said this other one was. It was the size of a car. Well, that made me think, was that maybe a mistaken weather balloon? Because and Chris will probably even say, when you're approaching something at hundreds of miles an hour, you're effectively approaching something that's not moving if it's a balloon. And so if you're approaching it you have split seconds to figure out what you're actually looking at. So I imagine that makes the identification very, very difficult. You don't have time to say, "Oh, it looks like it has a payload. I think I saw an iPhone." You know, you don't have time for that, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know,
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Mark, especially after this last the Lake Huron sighting. He basically says, you know, the guy says it's difficult to see. It's about the size of a four-wheeler. And if you let me share my screen here, Martin, I can show
go
you
right
the
ahead.
balloon that we launched.
Yep.
Just since Mark mentioned the weather balloon. So this is the weather balloon that we basically launched last June. We launched two, one from Vernal, Utah, to launch the UAP Society, and one from Germany to launch the Sky 360. And that's I think what Mark's talking about is this is at the ground level. And so that's about how big it is. And this will expand to actually 36 feet across, so 12 meters across up at 110,000 feet. And then it will break. And the wire, the lines actually, you know, there was, I believe, 4 lines coming down to our payload. And so you had the payload below it. I can play this actually, here. Make it a little more interesting.
Yeah. So there is a payload on that of some type?
You'll see it right here. So first there's a parachute. So this is the parachute, right? So
Yeah.
this goes up to 110,000 feet, blows up. It gets to the size, 40 feet across is pretty big. This is your parachute. And then we have a payload here. I think it could be up to 3 kilograms, I believe. The most expensive part was the helium. So the helium, it was we were kind of in a restricted helium time. And that was about maybe $900, I think, for the helium. And then the payload, actually, I have the payload over here. I can go grab it in a second. Yeah, if you close it, I'll go grab it.
Yeah.
I've seen, they have these kits online that you can buy to send. That was besides a spy balloon and an actual weather balloon, you have these, which are civilian launched balloons to space, and you can buy the kit. And I think that's probably what you did, right?
Yeah. So we because they have it, you can build it all yourself, right? But this came in a special kit. It just makes it so easy. And we planned this whole thing in about a month. It was really Alexei Novitsky did all the work, basically. So this is the payload. It basically comes in you have all your cameras in here, so everything kind of set up. So we had an iPhone going down. We wanted to live stream it, and then we had also our sensors. There was a gigahertz detector in there as well. So yeah, this is a payload, which is normally going to hang down by these lines, right? And so you'll see these lines. And so I don't know, that could have been, at least this is what we had as our weather balloon that we sent up.
Well, let me ask you this. This is directed at either one of you. As it seems to me that they were talking about that these, at least a couple of objects they saw. Well, one was a cylinder shape, and one was octagonal, and so, but they're not talking about balloons. And I'm not saying it was like a structured object, but it makes me wonder. They said no source of. They didn't understand why it was floating or something. I thought I heard something like that. Am I or read something like that? Am I getting that part wrong?
No, I heard you. I heard that. I read that part of the story and or a story, and it said, they couldn't understand why it was floating. And the next thought in my head was helium. Okay, because I thought it might have been a balloon. Okay, because Occam's razor, right? I mean, sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one, and we want to exhaust all of those expected results before we wander down the true unknown path, right? So you put these things through a real rigorous analysis, and then what comes out of that funnel of analysis at the bottom, if it falls into your hand, that's a true unknown. See, there it is right there. And you can't do anything with it. Okay, maybe you may not understand it. Okay, because our science may not be able to penetrate if it's a true unknown at this point. But at least we'll know it's a true unknown. And I know for a fact that our armed services see these things. I mean, you remember my story, okay? And it's not just my story; it's the story of many other people who were in the submarine force. I wasn't; I was a privileged guest, and we actually they saw a very fast-moving object underwater that was moving several hundred knots. Okay, was that a machine anomaly? You might say that maybe, but it did leave a trace on the sonar. They were able to deduce its bearing and range. They were able to give it a speed. And then when I did a job for the Joint Chiefs 4 years later, I asked one of the chiefs, "What can you tell me about this fast mover program?" And I kind of was hesitant. You know the story. And then he said, "I can't talk about that program. I'm sorry, Mark." Huh. I was in DC when I was asking him this question. I was driving home like this. Holy cow, it's real. Holy cow, it's real.
He didn't say it didn't exist.
That's right. And see, that's the thing, right? And guys like Chris, they fly fighter jets. And I think that his job is to keep himself safe and bring the hardware back and to do the mission, carry on the mission, right? And so he's going to do that to the best of his ability. Obviously, he did a good job. There he is.
He's there. Yep.
That's right. And so I think that being the case, we can defer to what they see in the cockpit over something that I think. All right. So when we talk about the Nimitz incident, right, they say, well, Fravor talks about these particular tic-tac shapes and the way what they were doing. Okay. I analyzed all the videos that were released so far that were released. None of those videos are definitive. You can't look at any one of those and say, aha, smoking gun. Right? They all have problems, and they all could be other objects. All of them so far. I analyzed the 3. That's it. But there's some others from a ranch that had some interesting characteristics and stuff like that. And it's very tempting to say they're just balloons. I get it. All right. But the fact is, you have to be open-minded. I am, and as you know, open-minded enough to know that maybe they're not all balloons. This octagonal shape one. The octagonal shape, was that something that the pilot said as he was zooming by at several hundred miles an hour? And the cylindrical shape, again, same thing. So what's the quality of that observation, right? We'd like to know.
And was it filmed? Chris, do you think it would be filmed, something like that?
Yeah, well, I just did a live stream of the Lake Huron audio.
Oh, yes, I heard the audio.
I can play a minute of it, and he describes it, actually, this most recent one.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you play that?
Let me bring it up quickly. And I think I wrote down when he describes it.
Don't they have to have, it's the video is being captured if they're going to be intercepting, right?
That was
on all of our missions, we turn on the tapes. Yep. So they should. It's all recorded, and they say in here that they lock it up with the targeting pod, and the missile has a good track on it. So the missile's tracking it. He just can't tell what it is with his eyes because they have to fly by it so fast.
Chris, I just saw you shut off the audio on the film itself.
Oh, sorry. Did it shut off? I thought I turned it up.
Okay, there it is. Okay, good.
So,
it's so slow and so small, and you can't see it because you're so close.
Did you hear that? He says it's so small and going so slow, you can't see it until you're so close.
I'd honestly be worried about hitting it before you know it was there.
I'd be more worried about hitting it before I knew it was there.
Visual on that pass. It's almost like a octagonal shape. I'm going to call it a balloon. You can definitely see strings hanging down below, but I don't see anything below it. It's pretty small. I don't know, size of like a four-wheeler or something.
So I couldn't tell if he says octagon shape there. That may be where
he said it just before. He said octagonal. Okay. Yeah. Before that. And he says he was looking for strings. He couldn't really tell if there were strings. And by four-wheeler, does he mean an ATV?
Yeah.
Okay, so not like a 4-runner or a four-wheel drive car, but an ATV.
Yeah, that's what I understood it as, a four-wheeler.
Okay.
That's what I understood. And then I think it's just another 10 seconds.
Just to give it a shot. We got plenty of time with the lake. We're welcome to do either. Two-step bird dog. Yeah, kind of coordinate on it. That's kind of knowing what I'm looking for. I'll be able to pick it up that kind of mile, 1.1.
Yeah, so basically he says, I'm able to pick it up about a mile away, and then 15 seconds later he's passing it. So basically,
Yeah.
you'd have to, and it's very difficult to see. So it sounds like it's really small. So they can see it with the targeting pod, and it sounds like it's shaped like a container, is what he says, shaped like a container with strings hanging down, but it looks like nothing is attached to those strings. So
Should I remove
this one particularly, because it's going with the wind. They're tracking it with the wind. It's small. It sounds like it's a balloon. The other ones are more interesting. The one over Dead Horse.
Oh yeah.
So, yep, I can.
Well, that one that has the strings hanging down, it's almost like it lost the payload.
Yeah, exactly. Like it lost a payload. That's what I was saying. Is if could it be these strings?
Exactly.
Hang on a second. Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
And they're mad
This
at
one
how
was
many
the
hundreds of
cylinder
dollars
one.
of helium they lost.
Yeah, this was the cylinder one that's shaped like a cylinder. F-22 shot down over the ice. So somewhere on the sea ice, they're out there looking that around. And then the final one, basically, they launched out of Elmendorf. So this was shot down. F-35s initially went and investigated it. And the first F-35, or one of the F-35s said his sensors, it was kind of messing with his sensors. And they said this was shaped like a cylinder. So that one's pretty cool with me. And that was at 40,000 feet. But, and then the next, I guess the next day, so later on Saturday, they launched out of Elmendorf here. And this is where they flew into Canada, into the Yukon. And so somewhere over here in the middle of the Yukon is where they shot down. And I've heard no information on this one. I don't know anything on this one, altitudes or what it looked like or anything. But I know the special forces are going there, the Canadian special forces.
Well, there's debris for sure. So, and this was that was a joint one, right? Wasn't it that Canada asked the U.S. to shoot it down or something like that?
Yeah, NORAD was involved, I believe, and yeah, they that's right. They did ask the U.S. to shoot it down. And Chris, before the show started, I believe before the show started, I don't think it was during the show, you said that the Sidewinder was probably unarmed when it hit the balloon and just used like a torpedo type of situation, not a torpedo, but a harpoon type of situation. And what do you think the other the other three shoot downs were? Do you think they were actually using weaponry that were they blown out of the sky basically? Do you have any idea? Does anyone have any idea? I mean, how much of this?
I don't know. It makes sense that they took out the warhead on the first one, the shoot down over Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
They wanted that technology.
But the thing is, they had a lot of time. They really had 3-4 days to figure out what they're going to do. And they decided, look, this thing's up, 70,000 feet. It's not going to get any real data on us. And we'll just shoot it down when it's over the water. So there was no real, I guess, hurry in that case. They had time to take out warheads out of the missile. I think normally, but these guys, the F-22s, I think the reason they're shooting is they're probably the ones with all the live weapons. Having live weapons is not a normal thing. Those are very, explosive, dangerous weapons. Normally we have training weapons. So I think the F-22s, they're probably just on alert to defend that Western Alaska airspace, the ADIZ. And so they probably just happen to have the live weapons. Most likely the F-18s that showed up just didn't have, live missiles on them. So if I had to guess, I'd say they're probably live, because these other three shoot downs, I doubt they would have, well, I don't know. They could probably make it happen. I don't know how hard that is, but I don't know if they had the time to really take out the warheads.
Well, one was an F-16, right?
Yeah, that was a Duluth F-16. These were F-22s and F-35s. I think I flew at Eielson Air Force Base actually for 4 years. It was awesome. It's a 2-mile long runway for the shuttle, but there's nothing here. Ice Road Truckers. Have you ever watched that show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's this road. Ice Road goes up through this range and then up to Prudhoe Bay. So that's really where they shut it down. Essentially, it was up on that right off the Ice Road Truckers road. I've had some crazy trips up there.
Wow.
Yes, I should say to the person listening to the audio of this, if you want all these visuals, you're probably going to have to go over to the show notes. And actually, if you watch the video of this part, at least part of the show, you'll understand more of what we're talking about. A lot of this is graphic. But the thing, as far as we know, Chris, is this the first thing? This is the first thing. The balloon last Saturday on the 4th was the first thing that was shot out of the sky over U.S., right?
Yes.
So
In many years.
in like 65 years or something.
I had just learned that today, to be honest. I didn't know that. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else there was shot out of the sky, really, over the U.S. itself.
Well, remember, okay, it's controversial, but there was the Battle of Los Angeles, remember?
Yeah, that was before Roswell, though, right? Wasn't that?
I believe that was, they thought it might have been
42 or something, 41. I
They
can't
thought it could
remember.
have been Japanese.
Yeah, they thought it was Japanese.
attack. Yeah. Yeah. The world's foremost expert on that, of course, is David Marler.
That's right.
In Albuquerque. So,
yep.
David would be all up on that, so he could tell you everything.
Yeah, that was 1942.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do shoot missiles all the time, to be honest. Usually over the water, they have tests. There's probably test sites over there. I bet Whiskey 122 may be where they actually employ weapons. Maybe they're like, hey, it'll go right into this area. Why don't we just meet it there? So, I mean, we shoot a lot of weapons just for training, for practice. You actually have to use the missiles. I just found this out. If you talk to my buddy's a Costa analyst, and actually you have to pay. We pay millions of dollars to destroy old missiles. 20 years, whatever the contract is.
Yep.
So
I believe that. One of the things I'd like to do while we're all doing this show is I would really like to answer. A lot of people have questions, and I'm going to say the people that are watching now, there's quite a few people on board. And if you have a question, please go into chat and please use all caps so I can see your questions. But I think there are so many people out there. We want to know what the heck's going on. And I'm just, like I said, this is a very fluid thing. This show may be tonight, we may be talking about this. Tomorrow, we may know everything. That's very possible that could happen. So, but it's, as far as what we really know is not a whole lot. And I'm wondering, I guess I'll ask you, Chris, because you've been involved in this type of thing. Do you think that we'll know, or do you think this is a matter of national security and it'll be, I don't want to say covered up, but not revealed?
So in my video I released just last hour, I basically say that I don't think any government or military will give up actual 100% knowledge proof of alien technology. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think there's too much to gain and way too much to lose.
Yeah.
So I just don't think, no matter what, they're not going to do it if they can. I think we'd have to find out the information. You're going to have to pull it out of their hands. If it's there, it hasn't come out in 80 years. So I see no reason why it would possibly change now. I'm just, you can't look back. History is no indicator of future success. And I'm like, well, we have nothing else to go on. So I would say no. I'm very optimistic. We have tons of information already just from the radio calls. I mean, already it happened on Sunday, and look at the quality of video that I'm able to make, only because I'm also I'm leveraging all the other YouTubers out there who are making excellent content. So I just watch their videos. I get more data, so it's kind of like this neural network that we have now. I think that's where it's going to come from us.
You're saying the key word, Chris. Okay. And I hate to say this, but YouTube, okay? The bottom line here is that back when Roswell happened, we did not have the media that we have now. We had a newspaper, right? And a phone that you dialed, right?
Rotary.
Okay. Yeah. Rotary, yeah. I got one in the closet. This is like a relic. Okay. It's actually from an old battleship. It goes with the decor. So what to me it means is that when we look at the current climate and the way information travels now, we get an incredible panoply of information. And because of this environment and the mechanisms to disseminate it, we also get a tremendous amount of false data and hoaxes. Like someone said, I saw one today, first shot of the dead horse UFO. And it was like a daytime shot of the UFO lying in the ice. And I wrote, what's wrong with this picture? It's February in Dead Horse above the Arctic Circle. It ain't light out. Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's permanent. It's semi dusk the whole day. And then you get dark night. Okay. So, that's hoaxers not thinking. So I said, science wins again, that kind of thing. But either way, but the thing is with the rapidity of the media, the way it disseminates, we will see things that we probably shouldn't. I've mentioned before, I was working on a project for the Navy that we were creating this object. At the time it was classified, and it was a flying object, and they were testing it in a lake in Idaho. And because there was a base in that lake, actually, that nobody knew about. Well, they were testing it there, and someone saw it flying, and they came down from the resort at the other end of the lake and started taking pictures of it. I got the pictures. I'm like, uh-oh, I know what this is. It's actually something that's no longer classified. In fact, they say it's no longer in play. It's called Project Cormorant, like the bird, the cormorant. Well, Project Cormorant was something I was working on for the Navy. I was building engineering models of this. We call it the birdie. Well, I called the program office down in DC, and I said, guys, someone's taking pictures of the birdie. And just to be fair, they're gonna one photographer is gonna get 10 more and 5 more after that, and 16 more. Eventually, they're gonna take pictures that you don't want them to see. Just letting you know. And at first, I told them they would be confusing it with a UFO thing, which is why I got it. And they said, good, let them think it's a UFO, right? Leverage it, let them think it's a UFO. And that's when I said, well, if they think it's a UFO, guess what? You're going to get many more people here tomorrow, and that's probably not what you want. And I had a deafening silence that followed on the other end of the phone. And the next day, I got a statement, which I disseminated to everybody, and they all went home. Oh, it's one of ours. And then they went home.
Yeah. Hey, I asked for questions. Boy, did they come in. So hopefully we can go through them, at least some of them, sort of quickly. Here's the first one here. Dr. Richard, could the cylinder have been a balloon? Anybody?
If you look at the blimp, the Acorn Sphere blimp, remember that? It's the F-18 pilot from the back seat, took all those photos.
I wish we could have known whether it was vertical or horizontal. I mean, you would think a cylinder would be horizontal if it was some type of, helium filled.
Well, it could also have been just it could have been an oblong pill shape too, and look like a cylinder, especially at high speed as you're passing it, right? Potentially. So it's possible that it might have been a pill shaped thing, kind of like the Tic Tac, and we don't know whether it was vertical or horizontal. But could it have been a balloon? I would say yes, it could have been a balloon of some kind. I mean, I've seen balloons that are round on the top, round on the bottom, and are made from a section, a gore that is actually a cylinder. I've seen that before.
Put something up there.
Yeah, sorry about that. There was one. If you remember the Acorn blimp.
Yeah.
Was that the one shot out of the right side of the cockpit window?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you remember that, they took.
I do.
This was off the East Coast as well. It was looked like that.
I got that case actually, and that when I analyzed it, I found that to be, in all likelihood, a Mylar balloon at altitude.
Okay, so you think it is Mylar?
I do. That was my finding, and I said I was 90% that it was a Mylar balloon at altitude. I mean, it had all hallmarks. It had the wrinkles. It had the little. It even has a little pucker at the bottom for the filler valve and kind of a thing.
And these things
that's close.
They can go pretty high in altitude, Mylar.
Yeah, they can. And they'll get, I mean, if you're ever taken a potato chip bag from 1,000 feet and gone up to, well, like say from Phoenix and gone to Flagstaff with it, that potato chip bag is really, really, really tight. And if you open it, it's going to go boom, because it's that air inside is at the ambient pressure that it was from Phoenix, right? So as it goes up in altitude, okay, the pressure gets lower, and that pressure is still pushing out, and it pushes the bag out further. So the Mylar balloons stretch and grow in the same way. They don't grow physically, because they're not allowed to. They're not like latex, which stretches. Mylar doesn't
Right.
stretch.
That's correct. Yep.
But the wrinkles get really tight.
Can it just, wouldn't it just blow up at a certain altitude or not?
It could possibly, have a little, fissure in it and break. Yes. And they do. I mean, sometimes they'll pop and just go, boom, and just fall.
So another question here: could they have been a lighter than air craft? And what would that be like? That would also be like a blimp or something like that, right?
Like a kite. I've seen some weird. You remember there's like this Pittsburgh NFL game, and there's this strange kite object flying over. I mean,
I think they did that on purpose, didn't they? To be controversial. Was that the one at the game?
No, I just remember like some sort of square sky kite. It's maybe not a dirigible, but something like that could have.
Yeah, again, but the answer, the question is, right? Could it have been? Yes, it could have. I mean, we can't say it's not. For sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident it could have been a balloon too.
So this one is an interesting question. What do you think of them shooting missiles at unknowns as a protocol? I think that could definitely get carried away myself. What does everyone else think about that?
I don't know what he thinks.
Yeah.
I was just texting with my fighter pilot buddy this morning, and we both think it's very weird. You know, we could, in a check ride, if you shot something unidentified. I mean, if you're approved to shoot it, that makes sense. But just shooting something that's unidentified just seems very strange to me. I mean, listening to the engagement, I understand it. I think they think it's a balloon. They're told to shoot this thing down. They're gonna take it down.
And they want to make sure it's unmanned, first of all, right? In a situation like that.
Yeah, I think they know it's unmanned at the Lake Huron case because it's so small, right? You can't fit a person into that space.
Unless it's
and lift them with that much helium.
It could be a little tiny alien. You don't know.
Right. Yeah. But it's not a man that we know about. So I guess it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Poor aliens. Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good point, right? I mean, you think about this, and helium has a certain lifting capacity. Do you have any idea how much it takes to lift a person? Remember the guy that flew around in his lawn chair?
Yeah.
How many balloons did he have over his head? Probably 80. Yeah. 83, 2.5, 3 foot balloons.
Is that the guy on his couch? One guy went on his couch.
No. This was a guy in a chair. Actually, he ended up dying from the incident.
Yeah, they don't all die though. Some of them.
No, some actually survive to be Darwin Award winners later.
Okay, here's another one. Why this one's to you, Chris? Why would they use unencrypted communications to carry out the shoot down?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, communications are always difficult. So it's always just a pain in the ass. If I'm sure in the future they will use encrypted comms, if I have to guess, after this, after the Chinese balloon is shot, because they don't want to give away their tactics as well. But it's difficult to get all the players onto the correct. Communications are always an issue. As a YouTuber, now imagine if we're trying to keep this a secret conversation that no one can hack. Of course, Marc won't have the correct codes. Something will happen.
So we'll have to talk like this so they can't read my lips. Chris.
You come from different bases. If it's thrown together quickly, you're not prepared to do war. So in our normal daily training, I'm guessing they don't use unencrypted. So when they go to do the training now and adding all these different elements, but I think looking at this now, I think it's pretty obvious they should use encrypted.
Were these air guard?
Yes. So it was Duluth 148th Fighter Wing out of Minnesota.
Okay, so the Air National Guard, unless it's, I'm guessing here, but I would guess that it's unencrypted because that's how they carry on every day anyway. I don't think they use encrypted, right? During the regular training runs and so forth. They're probably not, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not. Basically, you just use code words. You're not giving out information, but like If you had the Chinese, if they happen to have, which is legal by the way, a fishing vessel that had a radar on it, 13 miles off the coast, then they can track all the airplanes and listen to the communication. And now, if I know your planes and I have the communication, if I know location and communication, now I can kind of put piece tactics together and such. So, yeah, I think I was kind of surprised, to be honest, that we got everything. But I think for that is they're not used to it. And the people they needed to talk to weren't able to go encrypted. That's probably what happened.
Chris, how often do they change the code words? Are they always the same, or do they change them out?
I mean, that's where you get into comm security. It's like the highest level of security. I don't even know that information. Sorry. So normally it's changed out. Every day they'll change out. There's different radios. We have anti-jam radios that change out. Then you have encrypted radios, which is just codes basically. But if they're from different bases, maybe they don't have the same codes put in.
Yeah. So this person is worried about these events leading to a war, and wants an opinion. How likely could that be? I personally don't think it's. These are all unmanned, and things happen a lot when we don't even get into a war when something's accidentally shot down, and there's a life lost. So I don't believe this would lead to war, but you never know. Anyone want to give an opinion on that?
I think it'd be very stupid if it happened.
I would have to say that we have a long history of infiltrating China's airspace. They have a long history of infiltrating ours. Same thing with Russia. Okay, and remember Gary Powers being shot down in the U-2? We didn't go to war.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously things do happen. They're controversial, but the step to go to war is a very, very wide step. And I don't believe that that's one that would be taken lightly just because, it wasn't going to be called a balloon war. 99 Luft balloons, It's like, so I don't know. I don't think it would lead to war, to be honest. I think that's I'm not just saying this to be comforting. I'm saying this because I think that, as Chris just said, that'd be stupid to do that, frankly. It really would. Over balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like you just said, Mark, and I showed again in my video, was we had our own balloons. The Skyhook program.
Yeah.
That was back in the 50s. In the 40s, actually,
right.
it was the Skyhook.
Yeah.
And then we had Genetrix. That's actually, we sent 540 balloons in 1955 into China and Russia, and we only got back 10% of the balloons.
Yeah, well,
and
they got a lot
used
of them
our
too.
equipment. They used it for their own space program.
Yeah.
So it's not a very good program.
Yeah.
We're going to collect all these things. I don't know. It seems kind of if they really know what they're doing, then they're feigning kind of naivety. They're basically just throwing these things up and saying, well, we don't know what they're doing, but they also look like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. One thing too is the Chinese balloon that got shot down. How many of our parts were actually on this balloon? I heard from some sources that I know that there were actually a substantial number of American-made parts on their spy balloon. And some of those companies, as a result, have been blacklisted as a result of this project, of this incident. And I looked up the government document the other day and found like 15 companies that, because they supplied the products for the Chinese spy balloon, they have been blacklisted. So that's like, wow, talk about destroying your business overnight.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of that aspect. Chris, are you trying to bring up some more footage, or is it you just poking around?
I was just bringing up the balloon again, just to try and reference it. I don't know. I'm curious about that third shoot down to really see what that one is. Do you think, Martin, that the special forces, the Canadian government, the U.S., if they found some crazy alien technology, would they relate it to us?
Well, I I don't think so. I think it would take a long time. I don't know. That's a really good question, but I think if there's any point where it could be something that they couldn't explain, and I think they'd be very, very slow in releasing that. And I'd like to know what you think, Mark.
I think the on the Canadian side, I think for a lot of their technology, they rely on us. So I don't think they can try to evaluate this without us if it was to be something like that. So they would consider themselves a partner, and they'd rather be aligned with us than not when it comes to something like this. So I have a feeling, again, gut feeling, that they would probably have to share it with us, and they may not want to, like Chris suggested, but I think that they would probably have to in the end in order to find out what it is. Just a thought.
And Chris, why don't you answer your own question? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I guess it comes down to Canadian culture. Do you think that if Trudeau if they came to Trudeau and were like, this is alien technology, you know, you live up in Maine. What do you think? Think the Canadians? I don't know. I think we have a better chance that it landed in Canada. You just have more people there, and there's more people at the murder. You know, so there's more witnesses. So maybe something will happen. You know, or I don't know. I tend to think, maybe they will to actually tell us what's there. I don't know. I still can't believe it.
Yeah. Here's another question that came in. What do you think? Do you think we'll ever see this footage? I think if it's something benign, it's possible, but if it's something that still remains unexplainable and we don't know what it is, then probably not.
I suspect that with the clearance world in play, that all footage is going to be impounded. As soon as the plane lands, that stuff gets offloaded, if it's not already off onto a server, and it'll get encrypted at both ends, right? And then it's going to just be stuck there for review, and that's probably a very lengthy process. Having done some of that stuff, not with the Air Force, but with Navy side, I know that it takes forever to get anything, even simple, non-secret stuff. It takes a long time to get it out of the Navy. So I imagine it'll come out someday, especially if they're just balloons, because there's nothing they use that nobody knows about. They know about AIM-9s, okay? So they'll release that, I think. But the politics has to be right, though. That's the thing. It's all comes down to politics too. You know, what are we going to get out of it if we release this? What do we get for it? You know, do we get elected again? I mean, whatever. You know, I don't know how to. So I don't know, but I don't think there'll be a real reason to keep it secret. You know, what do you think, Chris?
I don't think it will need to be kept secret, but they haven't released any footage. You know, all the footage we have was leaked, essentially, or I mean, I guess it was, but
captured by him. He did it.
Forced, basically. I don't know. It seems like they got lucky. Lou Elizondo kind of got lucky getting those declassified, but
yeah,
I don't know has it happened since? Have we gotten any footage of anything?
We had some footage from of the ranch in Colorado that was released, and I got to look at that stuff. And none of that stuff was convincing to me. And okay, I'm skeptical, but I'm also open-minded. And my skepticism drives the analysis. I'm not going to go into an analysis, right, and say, this is probably a UFO. I can't wait to say it's a UFO. You know, I have to go in saying, I don't know what this is, but I have to figure out what it is. And I'm going to remove all the knowns. And if the knowns can't be removed, well, then too bad. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You know, so I don't know.
Here's a statement here. Hello, Martin. I heard on the news today that one of the UAP was metallic. Are the guests aware of that?
I haven't
think
heard
he
it.
said metallic in the because he gets a glint. That's what I heard in the Lake Huron, He said, "Yeah, I can tell it. I think it's metallic because it glints off the sun."
But that
And
also could be mylar too, right?
yes, and it could also be a regular weather balloon. A weather balloon will also glint given the right conditions. I've seen a regular weather balloon look like a point of light in the sky, but it's a weather balloon, and it just happens to, if see the weather balloons, the material they're made of can reflect like glass under the right conditions. All right. They're dull white. You think, well, those won't reflect light, but they do. All right. And depending on what type of a weather balloon it is, you can get more or less of a glint. And I've seen those balloons look just like big metal teardrops in the sky. And they're not. They're actually this very, very thin material that's actually completely clear. But they do glint like glass under the right conditions.
Yeah, if you share, let me share the screen here, Martin. Well, anyway,
Sure, you bet. Whoops. Let's see. There we go.
yeah, this is just our weather balloon at a distance, and yeah, you can see it kind of reflecting the sun from the top, and it looks to
Yep.
me looks kind of like a tic tac. You know, sometimes it does have a
Oh, I see. Because it's
cylindrical
white at the
shape.
top like that, really bright. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
And
see it.
it's changing its shape slightly too as it moves in the wind. You know, it squashes and goes round again, squashes and goes round as it's going up in the air.
I
No.
think it should be identifiable though. Yeah.
When they shoot these things down, they've probably already recovered a lot of the debris. I would imagine they would have recovered a lot of the debris by now. So they will know whether these things, they're talking about it looked metallic, but they'll know whether it was metallic or not by the debris itself. But I still wonder what type of weaponry they used, if it was, an explosion, or if it was, again, like a harpoon type of situation.
I heard there was 2 missiles on Lake Huron. Did you guys hear that as well? I haven't seen actual.
I have not heard anything about the Huron other than, the stuff you see on Facebook and other places like that. And I treat that with a grain of salt.
I don't know, so I don't want to say that there was more than 1 missile, but if it's such a small target, like you kind of mentioned there, Martin, if you don't hit it, if you don't spear it, that's why we have fuses. So they have a proximity sensor that will actually explode. And so it sounds like it just didn't fuse, most likely, on that little tiny balloon, if that's, or whatever it is, object. I said balloon. He called it a balloon, but if it didn't fuse, then you may need a second missile.
Chris, there's a question here. Are there alternative methods to shooting down, objects like these, other than using a fighter jet?
There must be, right? Yeah, there must be.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, didn't we used to actually capture bullet, the Skyhook? Couldn't you get it with a C-130? Like 20,000 feet. You definitely get a
that big
C-130 up there.
spread. It had those big spread arms. They can actually fly right into the balloon wires and capture it.
I think this is before space, because you think about it, you look back, we didn't until the 60s, right? No one had been into space. And so until that, then it was balloons. So high altitude balloons was the only game in town getting up to space, right?
Right.
But then when we went to space, we just totally forgot about balloons. We're like, okay, whatever, forget it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just coming in now because I think you're going to go to space in a balloon before you go to space in a rocket.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be more important in the future, militarily and for civilians.
Well, if you think about it too, okay, what's the value of going up to 70,000, 60,000 feet and looking down at the Earth? The value is that you're not at 252 miles, okay? And you're actually like 20 to 22 times closer to the planet. And I was working on a satellite project where a satellite from orbit could recognize your face, Chris, and see you from space, okay, and recognize you as a human. I've seen the footage. I've seen it. I worked on that project I was a model maker and making engineering models, but I saw the results and how it could work. License plates from space at an oblique angle, looking through the air. They could read them off the backs of cars or the fronts of cars.
Wow.
Okay, that's from space. Now, if you're at 60,000 feet with a technology just slightly less than that, because it needs to be light, you've got the world at your disposal. You have loiter time that's days long, not just timed in seconds. Okay. All right. And you have the ability to be that much closer. So you don't need the highest resolution to get a very superior image to your satellite. Right. And that's so there is a place for balloon spying. Right. In my view. And I think that I think we've encountered a very public version of it. I think they've been doing it before, but now everyone's looking up. I looked up when I was coming home tonight. I was looked up. I see any balloons? You know?
Yeah. You know, one of the questions that I've heard out there, and I wondered if either one of you have heard it, is why would they use such primitive technology? We're talking, let's go back to the Chinese balloon itself. You know, why would they use such primitive technology to surveil? Either one of you want to take that?
Well,
And by the way, just in 2 minutes here, we're going.
Your audio's cutting out there.
Yeah, I'll just basically, like Mark mentioned, is that balloons give an advantage. Actually, we just kind of went to satellites, but Mark, I think what you're saying is a low Earth orbit, right? So a low Earth orbit satellite's going to go by really quickly. I don't know, a minute or how long it takes for an actual low Earth orbit to go by.
You could, you like when you watch the ISS go by, it's 252 miles up. And by the time you call out your kids onto the front lawn to see it, it's already halfway through its pass. So it's going to be maybe that particular guy, maybe 25 seconds, 35 seconds at the most, right?
Yeah.
And exactly. that's a LEO, low Earth orbit object. But if you actually put something out at geosynchronous orbit, that's 22,000 miles away, and it can sit over the same spot all day and all night. And we have tons of them out there.
But you can't read license plates from that one, right?
You can't read license plates from there. Okay. You can't see right. You can't get the same resolution. That's exactly right.
Yep. So you can read a license plate, but it's like you're going by, right? It's like
there it is. And now you got to wait 90 minutes to see it again if it's still there. But in a balloon, you can loiter all day. And this particular balloon actually had, from my understanding, it had solar panels for power, and it had motors with propellers. Yep. So it could actually, maneuver itself.
Yeah. That's what I saw. Or stay in one place. Yes.
Well, it's fighting the jet stream, so I have
it's
very little expectation.
Was it at 60,000 feet? Are you in the jet stream at that point?
I think that you're still subject to the jet stream.
Okay. Well, I want to say goodbye to everyone over there at KGRA Radio. We'll be back next week with Julie Olson about a 1982 UFO encounter with actually debris. We're going to be talking about that next week. So thank you over at KGRA Radio. And if you two don't mind continuing a little bit longer. I know, Chris, what time in the morning is it over there?
It's almost 1. I woke up at 6. 1. Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, it's early.
Tired, but yeah, I can go a few more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to look to see. I think there's been some really good questions tonight. I really appreciate everyone in chat, and we have a good, sizable audience out there today. And I thought there would be a lot of people really interested in this. And I don't think there's anyone here on this little mini panel that we have that's saying that these are aliens or extraterrestrials of some kind. But I think I do think, though, the one thing I guess when I was thinking about the shoot downs is, okay, if a typical, say there's so many sightings a day, I understand NORAD cites about 10,000 items, objects a day to identify them, things like that. But like to say a bona fide, peaceful alien comes in. It's possible.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Martin.
Martin has censored himself.
It's cutting out.
Yeah,
the government censored you, Martin. It's okay. We know the truth.
Yeah,
we know the truth.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, what I just said is, if we are shooting down everything, and these objects people are seeing, like the Tic Tac or whatever they're seeing, coming into the atmosphere and people are.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think I get your question. Yeah, cut out again. But I totally agree. I mean, well, I guess first thing is if you look at all the accounts from the Foo Fighters, and it just looks
Right.
like you're not going to be able to shoot these things down. At least all the things I've seen. If it's real aliens, Tic Tacs, etc. I mean, you're not going to shoot it. And then if you look at the Foo Fighters, the bullets just went right into them. So I'd be surprised that we're able to shoot it down. Honestly, if it really is an alien spacecraft and can come here, but let's say that they can't get out of the way, it does hit them. Yeah, I don't think shooting at everything that we can't identify is a good way to go. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think any kinetic weapons are gonna, be able to do that much damage. Thermal weapons and, hurling lead. I mean, I think after thousands of years of evolution beyond us, that's something they would have been able to work through, because they have to deal with that kind of thing on the journey here from there, wherever they are. There's a micrometeoroid is basically like a piece of, flying lead, actually, like a bullet going through them, and it would go right through the craft if it was a. Right. So they have to deal with all this stuff.
If you two can hear me, I'm going to run and get another. If you can continue on without me, I'm going to run and get another mic.
No problem.
But I think that being said, though, is if you look at Roswell, it was a radar, basically, right? That's what they say is a radar. Or if you think of nuclear weapons, maybe like an EMP could cause some issues. But if you look at like a missile goes Mach 3, let's say. These things are going Mach 36, if it's to be counted correctly. So, it'd be like getting hit by something that runs slower than you, and dying. Like something.
Yeah.
So,
I think I do a talk all over the country, and in fact, I've got several of these scheduled for the next couple months, and I actually talk about some advanced physics methodologies that could be in play, that an advanced species could use, that could actually get them to be here or there. And it's an interdimensional theory that actually is not science fiction. It's actually deals with string theory and a particular variant of string theory called Randall Sundrum 1, where you actually have our 4 dimensions, and then you have a 5th dimension, and that 5th dimension is a highly warped location. And if you can get into that 5th dimension, you can effectively punch out of XYZ moving through time, go into this 5th dimension, then punch in anywhere else you want. And as fantastical as that sounds, and as silly and science fiction-y as that sounds, it turns out that there's actually a real basis to this. And it has to do with particles that at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, they're actually studying right now. These are called Kaluza-Klein particles. And I know an aerospace engineer and several physicists who are, right on board with this concept of, hey, this is probably how they're going to do it. If they can get here from there, they're going to punch out their space and punch into ours and not have to travel the intervening space in between through this. That's pretty interesting stuff.
But one other point, I guess, that I thought of is still old technology does tend to work, like with all of our fancy weapons and all of our fancy systems and radars and everything, bullets are still the primary weapon, so bullets are still going to work. They work very well. And if you look at in the wars, look in Iraq and Afghanistan, how we effectively lost was from improvised explosive devices. So just very rudimentary explosive devices, but they're everywhere. They're ubiquitous. They're simple. So I think that's why we're going the mass camera route, is just passive sensors. We want thousands of simple passive sensors to try and correlate that data together. So the idea is simple, but if you mass, decentralize over many thousands of units, maybe we can break through. So even if they have amazingly advanced technology over us, I still want to push to test. We still want to see if we can get through.
I agree with that, because most likely they're using technology that at one point or another takes them outside our ability to see what they're doing, quote unquote, because they moved into that 5th dimension, say. Now, if that is what happened, and if that's really what's happening. And again, string theory has to be proven before they can actually say that that's true.
You have to have a test that can even prove string theory first.
That's correct. And then that's what the Large Hadron Collider they're working on over there, especially with these KK particles that they're doing, the Kaluza-Klein particles. Well, anyway, the whole point here is that at some point, entering our dimensions and leaving our dimensional space, they leave going each way what I call skid marks. Okay, yeah, funny name. Every 15-year-old loves me. Okay, but these skid marks are the signs that they're transitioning to and from one place to another. Example, when they transition out of our dimensional space, we might see a burst of gamma rays. Okay, when they transition in, we might see a similar burst of gamma rays, followed by an infrared signature, followed by potentially a high energy signature in the ultraviolet end. Okay, and then they'll manifest to be seen with our equipment. Right, even easier. So that's the kind of thing that I was after when we were working with Doug Trumbull, to try and do this UFO detection system. Had he not passed, we would have been doing it. So, Jacques Vallée was kind enough to introduce me to Avi Loeb. But I worked with Avi in a couple projects before this, and so I know him. And he's trying to do a similar thing. And again, using high tech to try and detect these so-called skid marks of an advanced species that might be utilizing our near space. That's
very cool.
I think that's where it is, right? I mean, and
UAPs,
if everyone has one of these, everybody has one of these. Okay, these can be leveraged into doing some amazing things as well. You can actually detect gamma rays with this thing. Did you know that? There's a gamma ray detector that you put on your iPhone, believe it or not.
It reminds me of UAPX, where they detected Terror in the Sky. They detected that muon. They had the 43 megawatt muon detection, and that queued up their optical UFO DAP system.
Yep.
And that's where they caught the Terror in the Sky. That's interesting. Yeah, kind of similar.
From the movie Terror in the Sky?
Yep, from the movie Terror in the Sky.
Oh, that's Carolyn's movie. I was just talking to her the other day because she's doing another one, and I'm in that one. We're going to be talking about that.
Oh, cool. I interviewed her. She talked. Yeah, it was a great interview. She mentioned that movie, but she couldn't release any more details about it or something. She couldn't talk about it.
How long ago was that?
A month, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we're assembling equipment now for the next one. That's what we're doing right now. So
cool.
Yeah. So you're going to have a lot more interviews with her. I can tell you that.
So any theory? Here's a question. Any theories on? Well, first of all, is my audio working? It should be working, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Is there any theories on why these balloons were traveling at a relatively low altitude? 60,000 feet is that's kind of a high altitude for traveling for a balloon, but 40,000, I guess you'd consider that a low altitude. And I don't know if the question is because of there's more of a visual at that point. I mean, really, at 40,000 feet, if it's a car-sized balloon, you probably won't see it, right?
Yeah, but still, okay, keep in mind that for me, okay, if we consider this traveling at a relatively low altitude, how do we know that balloon wasn't transitioning to a higher altitude? Okay, if it's a balloon, they're going to keep climbing until they reach that equilibrium point, okay? And that equilibrium point will be the weight of the mass, the whole mass they have, plus the buoyancy that the balloon gives. And they could technically reach a neutral buoyancy position where they'll just float at a certain altitude, right? So, but I don't know for sure whether this is so early in the game. We don't know whether that 40,000 one was transiting to a higher altitude at that point. We still don't know that. It could have been.
True. Yeah.
I think they were going the other way. I think descending. Because
were they on their way down?
Yeah, because like ours, our helium balloon, the one we sent up to 110,000 feet, and then it blew up. We didn't want it to go very far. But if we put in less helium, because we were very concerned, right? So we overfilled it. That was probably the biggest concern, was that it wouldn't go high enough to explode. And so what would happen then is it would just float around in the stratosphere and slowly descend as it's leaking out helium.
It leaks out helium, yeah.
Yep. So I think these are probably actually on the way down. Like that balloon, the Chinese balloon, the spy balloon that was shot down at 60, the spy balloon, at 64,000 feet. It was probably much higher earlier as it was crossing over the U.S. And that may have been why they elected not to shoot it maybe earlier. It's a lot more difficult at 100,000 feet than 65.
Do you think we're going to see?
We'll get an idea.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we'll eventually get, I'm sure, the details on its altitude profile and what it did. Go ahead, Martin. I'm sorry.
Do you think that we're going to continue to see shoot downs? Either one of you?
If they keep doing these incursions, and probably, I mean, they're using it for political points too. Keep in mind, right? I mean, we got to be careful.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I think they're probably not. It's probably not necessary. I think they'll. My feeling is that they've been a little trigger happy, or maybe the consensus is they've been too trigger happy.
Yeah,
like you probably didn't need to shoot down any of the balloons, to be honest. You could have tried to track them.
Well, what about the Chinese balloon in particular? Because the Chinese were touting off that this thing was just a weather balloon, and if we did not shoot it down, we wouldn't and recover, then we wouldn't be able to say, "Hey, look, you have egg on your face." This or egg foo young, as someone said, because now you have to explain why this. You were saying it was a weather balloon, and it's not. You were surveilling us.
Brinksmanship, in a word. It's how governments interact with each other at the public level, right? They're going to complain and say that we violated this, that, and the other thing. How dare you shoot down our balloon that we were flying over your country? And how long would our balloon last flying over their country? Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't there something like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they just shot one down, actually. I don't know if it was ours, but they did just shoot another one down.
Oh.
So they're coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's probably some little alien somewhere going, "Hey, Targ, let's set up another one." Okay, Ben, there we go, right there.
Yeah.
It's a weather balloon. They stole my weather balloon, mommy.
I love that graphic. Dean, my friend Dean, sent that to me
I
this morning.
think it's good though.
And someone said, "Here's the
UAPs are
pilot.
in the
We're
news."
going to be interviewing the pilot to the balloon."
Oh, that's just great.
Yeah.
I saw that movie. No way he's smiling. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, I know why he's smiling too. I saw it too. Yeah.
But did you see they made a UAP task force?
I forgot about that, Mark.
What'd you say, Chris? I'm sorry.
Did you see they made another UAP task force now?
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
After this,
or a balloon task force. Is that what it's going to be? All right.
Is it a balloon task force? I don't know. All I saw was a new task force. I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what's interesting. He said, okay, is that Blinken or whoever that is? Who is that guy?
This is John Kirby.
Oh, it's Kirby, right? Kirby.
Yeah.
Kirby stated, which I thought was really interesting. He said, when asked the question, literally asked the question, could these be alien spacecraft? I mean, he should have said, "Oh, I would absolutely not think so," or something like that. But no, he said, "At this point, we don't know what they are." It's like, wow. Well, that's interesting, because the terms alien spacecraft or extraterrestrial craft were in that previous sentence. And he said, we can't say what they are because we don't know. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I pulled there was a headline that I did pull about that. What do you want to turn that up, Chris?
No, I was just playing it. Just interesting that they made this task force now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. So I think there's other ways to track these objects. You probably don't need to shoot them down. We can probably capture them using other methods. But I don't know. It was good to see. I think I was impressed with all the pilots' actions. They were definitely, they did their job.
Yeah. And so, but the only thing that concerns me also is, maybe this won't lead to a war or whatever, but could this lead to, more surveillance? I mean, do you think that this is going to continue on, or do you think this has always been going on and we're just discovering it?
I think we've always known it's been there. I think that it won't stop, and I think it's just going to continue. We surveil them. They surveil us. Okay, the Russians watch the two of us, and the two of us watch them, and it's ongoing. Everyone's watching everybody else. It's the game of spycraft, and honestly, it's actually comforting to know that everybody's watching each other. Okay, to be honest with you, because it means that we'll know if something really, really bad is about to happen, because someone's going to be able to give it away, So in a way, I hate to say it that way, but it's kind of comforting, We're not the only game in town. Certainly, we have plenty of technology. We are probably the most feared country in the world. And we do have the most technology, and we have the most capability. We're the largest standing army in any army on the planet. Okay, and that has to do with all the people that have guns of their own, So I don't think we have to worry about an attack on our land mass. I mean, Red Dawn would never happen, not in the current situation. That's my feeling. So I think that we're pretty secure in that way, but I do think that there's a lot of people that are a little trigger happy in the government, and we got to rein them in for sure.
Now, this comment, supposedly they haven't recovered anything other than the first Chinese balloon. Have either one of you read anything along these lines? I mean, I would think that didn't something go down on an ice mass? And it seems
he was talking about that.
Dead Horse up in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, on the north.
Yeah,
it's on the sea ice.
It seems like that would be a slam dunk for recovery.
Yeah, I meant to look up the weather. I haven't, but if it's clear, you should be able to just drive out there and find it.
They did say that weather was a factor out there. So,
I see. Yep.
And of course, don't forget it's dark. Okay, it's not like it's daytime out there. It's going to be dusk at the minimum, dark at the most. For most of that time.
Do we actually have lasers? Do either one of you know? Do we have lasers that could actually work for something like this?
That was the first thing I thought of, was the airborne laser. That's a great idea, Mitch.
I mean, you're not wasting a $600,000 missile if you miss. If you're shooting with a laser, I'm sure there's great amount of energy to produce the laser that would do something. But that's all you're really using is the energy part of it.
Well, in Hawaii and on Mauna Kea, they routinely beam a green laser to the moon to hit the retroreflector array, which was made at my university, by the way, and bring back the signal so they could gauge the distance to the moon. Okay, that green laser is not high power, but you do have a problem of beam divergence. The farther out the beam goes, the wider it gets, and it spreads more. So if you're going to pack a punch, you have to pack a punch that can work in a diverged beam too, because by the time it gets to the balloon, it's not going to be a beam this wide that can slice through your head. Okay, it's going to be a beam that's possibly a foot or more wide. So it's going to have a lot of energy and a lot of good collimated light and good weather. You have to have clean, crisp air between you and that balloon in order to get that energy beam there. So can it be done? Sure. We have energy weapons of sorts right now, that we can use. But lasers that's kind of tough. You could just beam a laser on it, sure. If it was here, I would have been tempted to take one of my argon lasers and try and light it up. But
Chris, this question's for you. If they used a sky blue balloons, would they be harder to shoot down? Don't they take a lock on like an object through radar, or do they do it visually?
Yeah, that was the kind of the issue I was talking about, is they had radar locks most of the time and their missile could see it in their targeting pod, but they couldn't see it with their eyes until it was too late. Yeah, it was too small.
Right.
So yeah, they couldn't see it anyway. The one over Lake Huron. So if you painted it blue, yeah, maybe it's even harder to see. I don't think it would have mattered. It's still difficult. But yeah, it matters, obviously. If you look at the planes, in Alaska, we had these white and black painted jets, and in the winter, those things would just disappear staring down, But in the summer, you could see them pretty easily look down. So yeah, it does matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I show my screen a little bit here, Martin? Can I
Yeah.
can I share some?
Yeah, sure. Oh, you have
let's-
you know how to share screen on that, Mark?
Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to
You go down under present, down and below.
I've
Meanwhile,
got
I'm going
it.
to pop up this. The only way to shoot them down
Please.
lasers for blasting them with radar. I don't think blasting them with radar would do anything. That would be if it was under some type of electrical control or something, and if it's a balloon, it's not going to do anything.
No, the radar would just bounce off and you say, "Yep, we got an echo. Here it is. We see it."
Yeah.
Um,
Mark, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I just got so many screens here. Where the heck these come from? I mean, let me find them. Let me just look for this.
There has been supposed many crashes, at least, right? Supposed crashes.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
So
this is-
yeah,
this
I
is-
mean, oh, here you go. Okay, I'm going to add this now, Mark.
This is the rumored image of the recovery of the Chinese balloon.
Are you saying
Rumored.
you don't think it's a real image? Is
Uh,
this another Roswell thing?
this to me, it looks almost too planned. Okay, it looks almost too planned and too perfect. So I'm not sure if this is the real thing. I'm just letting you know that this is what's out there as the rumored recovery image for that balloon.
Well, I just happened to be on that boat.
Well, you are a boater, so you would know.
Yeah, I am. And, I was under the objects and I just happened to be on that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, of
But,
course.
Yeah. But anyway, interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
there you go. Well, that's it. That's so let me I'll stop that.
yeah, interesting. So I've had a wonderful night with you guys. I guess I'd like to close with, do you think, I don't know, do you think we're going to know what the heck's going on, or do you think this will just continue a mystery? I don't know. Why don't we start with you, Chris?
I think already we've learned a lot of information, and they seem actually kind of transparent, at least to give initial information. They talk about Northern Command, they talk about the radars. So I don't know. I'm optimistic that we'll continue to get more information, but we'll see.
I think they better come out. See, we're very ephemeral about everything. I mean, you have to search for the war in Ukraine. You have to look for something that's really dramatic. But we're going a million miles an hour with our information and get bored with things really fast. I've been afraid that's going to happen with the UFO topic, UAP topic in general when it comes to the government paying attention to it and all that. But I think that if there's two things I personally think, they may stay quiet about it and then it may just kind of fade away. Or if they get it out and the transparency, they better do it pretty quickly. What do you think, Mark?
I think that just like with the Nimitz incident stuff, it took many, many, many years before this stuff hit the light of day. However, now that it has, and now that people are tuned to it, and now that mass media is picking it up, now that Tucker Carlson is having UFO folks on his show all the time, all right, and Joe Rogan is having people that are talking about it all the time, I have a feeling that the information is going to move faster. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of this coming out. I think that the government, they may try to keep it secret. And, certainly the folks in uniform will do so. But you're going to have people that are going to be seeking the truth. And they're going to be like pit bulls. And they're going to find out everything. There'll be people out there digging for answers. And I know that we're going to see more. And I think that the government's going to have to play ball at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I hope so too. It's been a real pleasure, guys. Really, it's really been a lot of fun. This has been a great time. And thank you so much for both of you for taking the time. I appreciate it. So how can they, Chris, you have a great active channel. And I was lucky enough to be the first guy to interview you on UFOs.
Yes.
And I've been on your show a couple of times. It's been a lot of fun. And you've really grown that YouTube channel. You do a wonderful job tell everyone how to get your channel.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Just my name, Chris Lehto, or Lehto Files. You can also search for that. But yeah, I appreciate all that. I appreciate all your mentorship, Martin. It's been great. Because you called me initially, right when I made my first video about UAPs, and you said, "Hey, and you want to be on my UFO show?"
Yep.
And I had to think about it. And I took a few days to think about it. You remember, I didn't get back to you right away.
That's right. That's right.
And that was the thought was,
Yeah.
and that's where the stigma. I was kind of scared, and I was like, whatever. I'm gonna say what I believe is.
Well,
are you glad you did?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Where are you down?
See?
Are you down there? Is that correct? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's happy he did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been excellent.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Super interesting. Yeah. Very exciting.
It's a great topic. And Marc, you have Sky Tour, and you do things Sunday night is mostly, or a lot more than.
Well,
that?
okay. The radio show is Sunday night, Sky Tour Radio, and that's 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. However, we also have Sky Tour live stream, which is our observatory stream, and we have our remote observatory out in the Arizona desert, which I run from here in Connecticut, and we show people the night sky, beautiful things. We have a wonderful Patreon crowd. We have wonderful subscribers of all kinds who just come from all over the world. We have people from China, Mexico, Indonesia, Japan, all over, Bulgaria. And they come in and they spend evenings with us to actually look at these gorgeous objects unfold in seconds. Because I took the time to do this right, I think. We have a telescope that can, it's actually, it's only one of its kind on the planet right now. It's a prototype. It pulls in things and sky objects 25 times faster than a normal scope of its kind. So in seconds, we see these beautiful, stunning objects, including tons of satellites.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
skytourlive.org. Skytourlive.org.
I've been called the UFO matchmaker by Paul Hynek and people like that. So I'd like to matchmake you two guys. Chris, please invite Marc on your show sometime. It would be a great show, you two together.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely, Marc.
I would very much enjoy that.
I'm putting you right on the spot. So
no, that's great.
Anyway, thank you so much. And Chris, get some rest. And thank you both so much. It was
2 in the morning for you now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was really a lot of fun. All right, take care.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
All right, guys. See you, Marc. See you on.
Bye, Marc. You take care.
Okay. See you later, Martin. Thank you.
All right. Sure, you bet. All right, everyone. So next week we have Julie Olson about a 1982 UFO encounter. And check us out. And remember, it worked for me. Keep your eyes to the sky.